Yep.
Keep playing.
Welcome back to another episode of Eagles Weekly. Here are your hosts, Brett, Haas, Mac, and Jack. How we feeling, fellas?
All right, Mac, intro crushed. Welcome back to episode 14 of Eagles Weekly. I'm one of your hosts, Brett Ryder, joined today by international marketing guru Mac Hutchinson and our ACC athlete, Jack Cyberlick. Coming off a respectable loss down in Dallas. Boys, how we doing?
Feeling good, man. Feeling good. Tough loss, but feeling good.
Feeling better than I thought I would going into that game. I was ready for you might have seen by my prediction. I was ready for a blowout, and they stayed in it. They fought. So
I was almost right. It was 31-28, and then that obviously that last touchdown. But it was
what was your prediction, Mac?
It was 31-28 us winning, and
we
basically lost 31-28 with that last touchdown. But it was pretty much the game I thought we were gonna have, and then of course we're BC like we've always been at the end.
I'm not much of a moral victory guy, but I mean there's a lot of good to take out of a loss like that. I think that I feel like they showed a lot. To be honest, they showed a lot more in that game than they did in some wins this year. Like there was a lot good that came out of it. Grayson James made a lot of good throws, especially, in the second quarter after a really slow start. But that was, the whole team. And I think SMU, really just kind of dominated both sides of the ball in that first quarter. But, once they settled in and Grayson James started making a couple throws and, got some guys involved that, we really haven't seen get, a ton of usage this year. Specifically my guy Reed Harris, Kamari Morales had a big game. There was just a lot of good, and Jordan McDonald, that's another guy. If you haven't bought stock in him, you should probably buy it now, because I have a feeling that that's going to skyrocket. He looks every bit the part. So
McDonald was great, and like you said, Reed Harris, buy stock now. Brett, you were right on that. He's starting to really come into this offense as a dominant option for Grayson. And I'm kind of in the same boat where, obviously no loss is good, but I came out of that, even with losing that game the way BC always loses that game, it was I came out of that super positive. And at the end of the day, you're basically we battled a top 15 team, a potential, college football playoff team the entire way with basically a backup quarterback, which
in their house.
Exactly. In their house. That's what I was kind of thinking afterwards. I'm like, if that's a home game, we win that game. There was something there where it was we're in that game. We're in a shootout. We talked about this previous week. Do you even see when's the last time BC won in a shootout? And we were right there in the end, and it felt like, to me, I'm looking at Grayson James' performance. I know there's been a lot of criticism actually after post this game, but for me, I'm like, this is a week 2 game for him. This is the second start of the season. If you look at it kind of in a vacuum, and I know that's not purely correct, but if you look at it in a vacuum, you're like, hey, week 2, second, Power 4 start of his career, he played the top 15 team till the end and gave his team, the chance to win. And, besides one, he made a really bad pick in the end zone, obviously, there, which was a game changer for sure. But I expected that. Honestly, I was kind of going into this game expecting maybe a turnover. He's a young kid. He's inexperienced. As long as you mitigate that and don't have multiple turnovers, I think he did what he needed to do. And they're right there being able to compete at a high level. And that was my biggest takeaway. And I'm kind of pretty positive on the program, kind of with what the coaches were able to do with a short notice in getting him prepared. So, yeah, I'm pretty positive after that loss.
Jack?
Yeah, I mean, you guys both said it. You're not big moral victory guys. I tend to be a big moral victory guy when my team has a moral victory. And yeah, I will say, I um, I didn't know, like, I was skeptical of Grayson James, especially because the Western Kentucky game, like he looked good for about maybe a quarter of that game.
Yeah.
Syracuse game, he only threw the ball 6 times, so it's kind of like, oh,
Mhm.
like if he's gonna have to throw the ball 30 times, and then now that Tommy's done, like I was a little nervous about that prospect, but he after the first 2 drives where they kind of stalled on both, he kind of really settled in. Clearly, the coaching staff did a good job preparing him on just 1 week of practice with the ones, and yeah, so I walk out of that with I'll hang my hat on a moral victory there against an away game against a team that might make the college football playoffs.
Mhm.
I there are a couple of things I like that I wanted to talk about. We can talk about these later, but one thing, Reed Harris, like you said, we bought stock early. We'll keep buying stock. I
Mhm.
did like that they kind of use him more in the structure of the offense rather than as like just
Yes.
a deep
Yes.
threat. I love
Uh-huh.
that.
Uh-huh.
They threw in the ball in the middle of the field a few times, which
Yep.
they threw the ball in general in the middle of the field, which you don't, which was one of the downsides with Tommy, of course. So that was an aspect of the offense that I liked. In terms of the defense, they're banged up. They did you didn't expect much from them, but they gave you their best, and frankly, their best isn't that great right now. But they fought, and I believe in Tim Lewis's concept. So like you guys, I walk away from that game feeling relatively positive about going forward.
Mm-hmm.
I think for me too, and it's you both touched on this, and Mac, I know I believe you said that if it was a home game, they probably would have won. Dude, if they had a kicker, they might have won.
Yeah.
Because I'm looking at because I was looking at right here, right? It says like 4 touchdowns to 4 touchdowns, and then they had 3 field goals. And if you kind of look at it, that garbage touchdown, obviously. So if you want to look at it as like a 31-28 game, there was at least 2 times where BC, if they were a regular standard FBS Power 4, any sort
Yeah.
of football program that had a kicker, they would have kicked it. You're looking at a completely different game in that respect too.
I mean,
So
there's a 6 to 10 point swing at the end of the first half where we turned the
there,
ball over, and they
correct,
marched it down.
correct,
Yeah.
They marched it down 80 yards
correct.
in
Yep,
20 seconds.
correct.
So that there it is, like right there. Like
There,
And
if we at the very least we
nail
kick a
on the
field goal
head.
there.
Nail
Yeah.
on the
So
head. Nail
again,
on the head right there. Yep. And then
again,
that's
I
the thing too,
super.
is these uh end of the first half. Like I don't understand how these goofs keep coming. It's like every single week they just have these goofs at halftime. They did it against Louisville. They did it this week. Pick a week they did it against. I'm pretty sure they did it against Michigan State as well. It's just they just cannot close out the first half without like these little silly, just doing a silly. It's crazy. And
Yeah,
like you said,
closing
it was
out's
like a
been
6 to
been
10
tough,
point swing.
whether that's the end of the half or the end of the game. I would say though, again, the takeaway though is even with that 10-point swing there that shouldn't have happened. At the end of the day, what's super impressive is that this was a fair fight at the end. Basically, for me, the offensive line being able to dominate the majority of that game. I mean, you came into this game. SMU was a top 5 rushing defense. Boston College was able to put 200 points on the board, like way more than any of their opponents have been able to do this entire season.
yeah.
And it really came down to, BC being able to do a lot more on offense. But Will Long, I think, called an incredible game. I think he was able to do a lot more, plays, especially in the passing game, obviously, than he was able to do previously. And it's funny that it kind of came down to the offensive line in the end with the pass rush. That last series, obviously SMU won, but the fact that it came down to a fair fight where it really was, I think the offensive line later in the game was really starting to develop that running game, really starting to put their foot down. And then it just became, hey, SMU responded and just took the win at the end. And I think that had to do a lot with hey, they were resilient. They're a really good team. They're at home. But at the end of the day, the fact that it came down to really that battle there, I thought was impressive, and they pretty much held their own the entire game.
Yeah, I mean, I think I saw the stat. They SMU was top 10 in rush defense, and that was one of my biggest concerns. Like, oh, if we can't run the ball, dominate the line of scrimmage like we did against Syracuse, and they really force Grayson to throw the ball. That's where I thought they were going to beat us. But clearly, I mean, they gave the ball to Kai 21 times for 90 yards. McDonald had another great game. He had 11 carries for 63 yards. So clearly, like, they were able to run the ball when they needed to, and that was a very welcome surprise for me. So, but yeah, but then the pass blocking kind of just broke down at the end, and the two crucial sacks that just sucks, especially on 3rd and 4th down. But yeah.
Is that a situation?
Especially because, like, when you look at how that transpired, it's like what more can you ask for than to, be a double-digit dog on the road to the number 14th team and to get the ball, with a chance to win the game, with your backup quarterback. And with all the turmoil that's been going on this week too, like, I feel like that is an added layer that maybe hasn't been discussed enough, is just the fact that, like, all the drama that's gone around it. Like, these guys are going through a breakup, more or less, a lot of them. I was a little concerned about, like, a Lewis Bond, for instance. Like, I was genuinely kind of worried, like, how this was going to affect him. Was he going to stay? Was he going to, is he still going to, will he leave at the end of this year? Because that's his
roommate, friends.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's still a lot, to be kind of unfold from this whole thing. But yeah, the drama that came about, during this week, and to have the game played the way it did. I mean, that was a perfect storm to a nice 50-7, see you later and go back up to Boston with your, tail between your legs type of game. And to their credit, they didn't do it. They fought, and after the first quarter, it kind of looked like that's what was going to happen. And they kept responding. And, what is Grayson James, is Grayson James our answer at quarterback now? Maybe not, who knows? But for this game, he played well. He looks like he could play the part. He looks like he can manage the offense. He looks like, he can do a feasible job within the team. He's got 2 games left, potentially 3 games left, especially to audition for next year. So, I mean, we'll see, and now we got, I love McDonald. He's fast. That's the UCF running back? Is that the transfer from UCF? He's He's fucking fast.
He's really fast and explosive.
Oh my God.
I totally agree, Brett, though, with your kind of takeaway there. And that was my analysis too, where it was a great response to see from the team after all that turmoil, transition, and kind of drama this week. And when we kind of talked about this, Jack, last week, we didn't have the news. We had the news that Tommy was benched, but we didn't have the news that he was leaving. So we should probably talk about that. I think it was super disappointing, not only, and maybe this was more of a distraction for fans than it was for the team, but I know for fans and the media, it's like, it was a bad look. There's no way around it. It was like, Tommy leaving with 3 games left was a bad look, not only for him, but sort of a reflection on the program too. But really more on him. And it felt bad because the entire community really rallied around him the last year and a half. And he was just saying all the right things and doing all the right things. And, I just remember after the Florida State game being him saying like, hey, Boston College, got to go to class because of Boston College. And he's doing all these great things for the fans and the brand of BC. So for him to then just turn after getting benched and to leave, you kind of felt bad on so many different levels. You kind of felt bad for, the program. You felt bad for him too, because I think that was the wrong decision. And, even if it was, we can talk about NIL and transfer portal, but even if it has to do with money and all that, it seems like it would make more sense to stick with your team and show that you can rally behind your team. Even if you are looking for, another team in the offseason looking to get more NIL money. So it didn't make sense and it felt wrong. And I don't know, you wish him the best, but the way it ended seems so like black and white to what it's been with him and how much we've grown attached to him throughout the last year and a half, and just a disappointment all around, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like, obviously, we don't know what happened behind the scenes. Like, I don't know if the writing was on the wall with him or what Bill was communicating to Tommy, but I just can't understand a scenario where he or him and whoever his representation is feels that he's better off ditching the team for the last 3 games rather than picking up a clipboard and looking like you're busy with the team or invested still for 3 more weeks. Because like, I mean, you get a head start in the portal, I guess, but I mean, the first thing coaches are going to ask him, they'll be like, "Hey, like, why did you quit on your team with 3 weeks left and leave them without a backup?" Because I mean,
what happened at
we
BC?
we saw Dracovic picked up the clipboard when Moorhead took his job. We saw Moorhead do the same thing when Phil took his job or when
For an
Tommy took his
entire
job.
season.
Yeah, yeah. So I mean,
Grayson to do that the whole year and then him not to do the same back was kind of
yeah, it is baffling. It is baffling. I mean, I'm sure he didn't make that decision lightly. But yeah, it is so bizarre. And that's why Matt, when we talked about it last week, there was kind of rumors swirling. No one knew what it was. And I kind of said like, oh, I don't want to conflate this with him quitting on the team. Well, 30 minutes after we recorded, like sure enough, he quit on the team. So I just have a tough time wrapping my mind around like kind of the rationale or what possibly could have been behind that decision, really.
Especially when Jeremiah Franklin is like, "Oh no, like we're still talking to him, like
yeah,
we're still
yeah.
boys,
Like, what
like,
is that?
everything,
What is that?
And then it's like, the report comes out that he's entering the portal. And I mean, and to use AI, to use ChatGPT to write your goodbye message.
Talking about the Eagles nest.
Eagles nest. What?
That was.
I remember I texted you guys. I was like, "What is the Eagles nest?" Because I was like, they're like, it's not the cafeteria he's talking about. There's no way.
No, I think it's the school's technical term for the student section. Like the student section is kind of called the Eagles nest. But
have you ever heard that? Like I've never heard that.
No, I've been a fan forever. I've never heard that.
Come on, dude.
I mean, maybe it's on like the Wikipedia article or something about BC athletics, but
ChatGPT, right? Yeah,
it's bizarre. I don't know what that was.
It's just for me, it's just so tone
so bizarre
and just like insincere. Like, I get it. You're upset and you're mad, but like, I hated when Adazio left and Adazio never released any sort of statement. You know what I mean? Like, and I hate when, it's almost just kind of like, all right, yeah, we're, you're done with me, I'm done with you. And it's like, okay, so like, that just meant nothing to you, huh? So like, like our whole Fenway Bowl 6-6 excursion last year, and that just meant nothing to you, huh?
I feel like too, like obviously I tried to, when I got this, obviously I had a lot of the same emotions as you guys had, but I was trying to be objective about it and be like, oh, obviously this is a 20-year-old kid, this is a young kid making decisions where who knows what's in his ear. Who knows what his agent's saying? There's probably money at play, but from a media's perspective and someone that covers college football, you're kind of like, this is exactly why. And the NCAA has screwed this up so bad. This is exactly why you needed to have regulation and you needed to have upfront contracts for these players. The fact that you have 18 and 19-year-old and 20-year-olds making these decisions for themselves that probably aren't at their best interest, and who knows who's talking to them. The fact there's no regulation and a clear contract. Tommy got a car. He's given all this money from BC. Like, he doesn't have to, finish the season. And so there's so much like gray area here. And when you're dealing with like student athletes that are getting huge amounts of money for the first time and trying to make these decisions for themselves, it's very uncomfortable and it's very concerning for me. Obviously, I think regulation's coming and a lot of litigation's coming with this, but just looking at that, this is a big example of like, and again, I don't think Tommy's going to be the last one to do this. This is something that's happening in college football that needs to be resolved, because you're going to have people that just like all right, I'm out.
Yeah.
This is a professional sport. Like college football is now a professional sport. The more and more we try to kid ourselves and say they're college athletes that represent they're not. They're professional athletes, and we need to stop, playing around and being like, hey, people need to sign contracts. We need to know what the expectations are and protect these players and the programs.
It's a weird dynamic that's going on too, because it's like, oh, you don't like your situation, I'm leaving. And I think for a team or a school like BC, it's tough because I think we're gonna start falling into, at least I hope not, but I feel like we could fall into this idea where like we're almost like a minor league team for a lot of these bigger schools, where like we're gonna develop kids and then they're gonna jump ship and go to like a Clemson or go to like a Miami or some Big Ten team. That's kind of the concern for me, especially with like the whole NIL landscape is a lot of these kids or a lot of these like big schools, like they don't have the time or the patience to be like developing prospects anymore, high school prospects, or they're only going to take those 4 and 5 stars, and then like the 3-star Zay Flowers that comes through BC, once he starts to pop, he's just going to get poached. That's kind of my worry about the whole NIL landscape, which, we've talked about it before, paying the athletes, all for it. I think it's imperative, to do that. And I think that it was very important that did happen. But obviously there are a lot of loose ends that, haven't been addressed. And to be honest, it's not even that they haven't been addressed. I don't think that there's a solution to them yet. I don't think anyone has been able to kind of figure this out, navigate it. I think it's just so freaking new in general.
Yeah.
But we're seeing it with a guy like Tommy who didn't fit our system or didn't fit Bill O'Brien's system. And Bill O'Brien knew that, you know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like Bill O'Brien, if anything, could have morphed the system or morphed his scheme more around Tommy to make him, more of a runner and less of a passer. He was just unwilling to do it,
I'm going to say something bold here, Brett. I honestly think if Bill O'Brien had a full offseason this offseason, Bill O'Brien would have brought some other transfer quarterback in. And I think that's that's exactly what he's going to do in this offseason. But for me, this is what I gauge, and I could be completely wrong, but this is...
I don't think that that's super bold of you to say either. I agree with you on that. But
he didn't, because he didn't bring anyone in. These are all half these guys. And I think, the hope is, and this is based on when I've talked to Bill, and he has a really good grasp of NIL. As much as he kind of like tries to push off like, BC does it a different way, he understands full well what the NIL is and what BC needs to be to compete.
Yeah.
I really do think like it goes both ways. Yeah, we might lose some guys, but honestly, I really do think that Bill O'Brien's not going to be sitting on his hands this offseason. He's going to be bringing in a quarterback or two and some players from the transfer portal. And when he talks about NIL too, I think he's got a great perspective on, hey, there's things that BC can do. And as far as what you were talking about, Brett, with the different tiers he set up, once you get to a certain level here and you developed we invest as much of that NIL into you to try and keep you here. Same way they did with Zay Flowers, the same way they did with Mahogany. But I think there's even more levels that they can get to, where I think not only are they doing that, but there's room for them to be able to bring people to BC. I mean, we're a Power 4 school. There's a lot of attractive opportunities, especially with the education that you're going to get at BC. So that's the hope. And I think with this offseason, we're going to see it when we see it. I think it's going to be a couple years of development. This is something that's not going to just happen overnight. But I think people are going to be surprised this offseason about how much more active he's going to be in the portal and with NIL than what is expected or what's been the history of BC. Because if he's a smart guy and he's been around and he's got good connections, if they don't do it, they're not going to be able to compete at a high level. So at the end of the day, that's the reality.
Jack?
No, yeah, I totally agree. I agree with what you guys were saying. I do want to say, I don't think BC is necessarily or at least right now, I think they're set up better than we might be giving them credit for in terms of NIL. I mean, they've proven they were able to keep Mahogany and Zay and Tommy last year after he really popped. in a couple years. So I think and I think this will only get better. Bill brought in that the GM, the general manager guy, to help facilitate all this. And I think, I think they've proven, last year that they were able to retain guys through NIL, and I think with Bill and like a more polished understanding of how the landscape is working, I think I'm not as scared of BC being left behind. I mean, sure. I mean, if a guy really pops and wants to go to Alabama or Georgia or whatever, that might happen. Like, all the best to them. But I think like there is something to be said for guys who succeed at a program like BC and they stay. And I think that does happen. I think you might see that with someone like Duran Bradley, who's had 6 catches all year, with putting up numbers in the Big 12. Maybe you see him go somewhere else or something along those lines. So I don't think BC's in a bad spot per se in terms of NIL. But I guess we'll definitely have a better idea of that, when we get Bill's first full off season.
Yeah, that actually is a good point, because I mean, although the receivers that they brought in haven't panned out whatsoever, they did make moves. They did bring in a couple receivers, tight ends, couple running backs, couple defensive players. So it's not like and like pretty good ones too. Like
I'm sure Kamari Morales, he was the all-time touchdown leader at UNC. I mean, he was playing with Drake May, but he probably could have gone somewhere other than BC. They brought him in, but
I'm just thinking with like Bill O'Brien's connections and how many coaches he knows in the space, whether it's that NIL or in college football. We're talking about Portal Jeff last offseason. I mean, Portal Bill is going to be way better in my book. The fact that he is way more connected, he's got all these coaches, he's got Ryan Day, good friends at Ohio State. He's got Chip Kelly there as well. He's deep into this space, and he's gonna be well more equipped to pull off, I think, some of these strategic moves. So, I mean, I think people aren't talking about that because we're not there yet, and we're in the middle of the season. But this offseason is going to be a massive offseason, I think, for Boston College.
Yeah. What do you guys think is the most pressing issue that they got to address in the portal?
Oh, quarterback.
Don't say no. I was gonna say don't say quarterback. Sorry.
Don't say quarterback.
Not quarterback.
I feel like that's a given.
Linebackers.
Linebackers one.
Yeah. Definitely linebackers. I mean, dude, you can never have too many pass catchers. So
I would say, well, you're going to lose out to Rocky. You need some more, defensive.
Oh yeah,
defensive line. You need to stack the defensive line up. We don't have enough depth.
Oh, and you're losing Cam Horsley too.
Yeah. That D line is going to be something to look at for sure. I would expect them. Obviously, based on recruiting, they're going after a lot of linemen. Defensive lineman, but that's 2 years, maybe 3 years away before they start playing. So they're going to need at least 2-3 of those guys for the depth that they're going to want next year in the portal.
Yeah, I just think like maybe get every position, just revamp the entire roster.
Just bring in 85 new guys.
Colorado's 8-2.
Do you think he'll pull something like what Colorado did, Brett, and just be like, the talent level's that bad? I'm gonna basically say, hey, if you didn't play this year, get the hell off the team.
It's so funny. It's like they were like 1-11. I mean, they were 4-8 last year. They weren't even that good, and
the whole joke was, didn't they start 4-0 or 4-1 or something? And then everyone clowned them for finishing 4-8, and now they're the number 16 team or whatever in the country. So
pretty. Last I checked, that's pretty good.
Mm-hmm. That's pretty good.
Pretty good. Yeah. It's a little bit better than 5-5. So I think. I mean, dude, who's that one quarterback? Real quick, there's like one quarterback that like everyone keeps dropping his name as if he's like it. Like, I forget what his name is. Yeah. There's like one kid that they're like, oh, I don't know. It never.
For BC to get in the portal for next season.
Yeah, there's like
Was it
one specific.
Georgia
It's like
backup or something like that.
I
Right.
don't know. It's like one specific kid though that everyone's like,
Was it Preston Stone?
yes,
Sluka?
Stone,
I don't know.
Preston Stone,
Oh, I heard
don't.
Sluka too. Yeah, I heard.
Yeah.
Preston Stone.
No
Every,
thanks.
Yeah.
yeah.
If I was choosing between those two options and Grayson James, I feel like it'd be tough for me.
Okay,
You know,
he'll definitely be a competition for sure.
yeah, I mean, because Grayson will have the advantage of having a full, not a full year starting, but a full year showing in the program, showing up. So
Yeah.
yeah, it'll be interesting to see, if Bill brings in like a ringer or whatever, a quarterback, that how that.
I think he's definitely gonna bring a ringer. I'm really just the only thing I'm questioning is he gonna bring in one or two quarterbacks, because I really do think, as much as Grayson, we'll see the rest of the season. I think he's going to be able to be, a game manager, and hopefully he can pull off a win so we can go to a bowl. It's going to be competitive in the off season for sure, and it depends on who he's able to pick up basically in the off season. So.
Yeah. I can't imagine that say we win one of these next two, make a bowl, win or lose the bowl, whatever. I can't imagine he's going to rest his laurels on a quarterback that led a 6-6 team.
No.
But so yeah. I mean, it was just tough for Grayson James, who he could play really well and get us to a bowl game. But
he's a solid.
Interesting to see how that unfolds.
He's a solid Power 4 backup quarterback. That will probably need to play at some point next year if he's not the starter. So that's what you need to have on this team. And right now, if you just look at the depth, you're just hoping and praying that Grayson doesn't get hurt in the last two games, because the drop-off is really something, man. The drop-off.
Might have to bring Jonathan Montague back from the receiver room.
Right. We shouldn't have converted him to wide receiver.
Do we have?
He's not catching balls, is he?
Do we have to put Grayson in bubble wrap for the last 2 weeks?
Yeah, well, you might have to. Yeah.
Especially, dude, the last two games are home, so maybe we should just have him set up shop in alumni for the next 2 weeks, and just you can't go anywhere. You can't, you know what I mean? No freak injuries.
No.
Nothing. Need it. Sorry. So you can sleep in the press box for the next 2 weeks.
Would it be Jacoby Robinson, you think? Would he be next up?
I would have to be, right?
Again, massive drop off. We watched him play a little bit in that.
He looked bad. He looked bad.
Duquesne. Duquesne. He looked terrible.
And it was very bad. He's he's obviously very athletic, but he's just not fine tuned. He's at least a year or two off of being able to, put it all together. I think so. Yeah, the drop off is.
Did you guys know we have 7 quarterbacks on the roster, or I guess six quarterbacks on the roster right now? I'm just looking at it right. That's crazy to me. We have
a lot. 3 of them are
James, Robinson, Montague is a receiver now.
Mm-hmm.
Peter De La Porta, who I think he's like a 4-star, but Jack Brandon, Shane Hannafin. Yeah, so
Shane Hannafin sounds like a BC quarterback. That sounds like a BC quarterback, buddy. Hey, I have a scoop. I can't share the name online. Yeah, I can't drop the name online. I'll throw it in the Eags Weekly chat after, but apparently there's a quarterback from a school, a Division I, a pretty good Division I school. He's got his foot in the door at BC, and he's going to share some developments. This was put in my DM, so
interesting.
But,
that's interesting.
Power 4, Brad, or just D1?
Not power 4. Are they power 4? Let me check.
G5, maybe G5.
Let me check.
Yeah.
Let me check. But if they're not, they're not, but they're like one of those G5 teams that's they're good. We'll talk off the air, but listen, I don't get scoops a lot. So and this is why I'm throwing it out there. I'm kind of bragging a little bit because I usually do not.
No, yeah.
Brett scoops over here.
Scoops don't come my way a lot. I've had a couple scoops in my, the TJ Power, rest in peace. A few other scoops, but like this scoop came directly from a player. So we'll see. Well, that's all I'm gonna say. But
Okay, don't say too much.
Yeah, I drop like the name
Eagles
and
weekly sources right here. We keep them close, baby. Let's go.
Listen, people know. People listen. People are recognizing us. People recognize Jack at a mixer.
Yeah. It was a Boston College network event. I had a couple people come up to me, say
Did
hi.
they ask you for your autograph?
No autographs, no pics. I told them I was like, yeah, guys, I can't do that tonight.
That's respect. That's very respectful.
We missed you last week, Brett, but the Jack and Mac show was fun. We had a good time.
I listened.
Yeah,
Nice.
the Jack and Mac show. Yeah, it was a special. Yeah,
good old special.
Yeah. So we'll recap off the air for sure on that.
Yeah. This
I'll say, Jack, I had this question because I remember I'm looking back to like beginning of this podcast when we really first launched this, and we were doing preseason predictions, and you said 6-6, that'd be a successful season, and it's so funny how we went crazy up and down this entire season as far as expectations, what people are going to see as successful, and I find us in like this week where I'm like, hell, Jack was spot on, man. 6-6. I'm happy with that.
If we end 6-6 and make a
potential seventh win, first year with a short off season, and Bill had to work with half these guys. I'm liking that. So I don't know. I think that kind of like to help frame kind of going to this UNC week, like 2 home games, you got to win one.
You gotta win one. Yeah,
it's probably got to be UNC, but again, Pitt's suspicious. Their quarterback's hurt, so there's room there. But
UNC is kind of suspicious the other way too. UNC is not as bad as we thought, which sucks.
They've won 3 straight, like
exactly.
Against shitty ACC teams.
Dude, they beat UVA, who beat us. So
who knows? Man? It's like they have a really good offense, not that great of a defense, but who knows in those type of games? Are we going to get into another shootout? We're not a shootout team, but we can maybe do that now. It's interesting.
Yeah. I don't know.
I'm trying to find my notes from when I outlined the season prediction, but I mean, I baked in FSU as a loss for the season, and when we beat FSU, I immediately thought, oh, we should go 8-4. So I mean, I was a victim to that as well. But I mean, if we look back on the season, there's always gonna be those games where you're like, we should have had that one, like UVA and Louisville are going to be that for us this year.
And there's another one too. I feel like there's one more.
SMU?
No,
SMU.
But Louis
was close. I mean, all these games were close.
I guess it was just UVA and Louisville that you would. Yeah. No, you're right. Yeah. You're right.
But they kind of been 50-50 with it.
So they would be what? They'd be 7-3 right now.
Yeah. Well, we don't. Let's not talk about that. But and we'd be feeling completely. We'd be thinking about 9-3 and like a really hot in the Orange Bowl or something. But
wow.
No, but I'm just saying. When I predicted 6-6, it was not this kind of 6-6 that we may or may not be trending towards. It's always going to be like that. You're always going to have those crazy wins and those crazy losses.
Yeah.
But
I'm glad you brought that up, Jack, because think about how many one possession games. Like, if this team, like first year, like again, Bill O'Brien dealing with the limited talent that he was given and handed off, from. To be in like a position where like your losses are like games you either should have won or came down to basically one possession late in the game. So that's super positive when you're thinking like, okay, are you like a player, a quarterback, or like a few things away from having a very dominant season? I think this team is like a year, 2 years, maybe a year, maybe an off season away from really being able to like compete in the ACC. And you've seen this in the ACC. With SMU leading, the standings, you can really compete in this and be, give yourself a chance to be in the ACC championship, go to the, the 12-team playoff, taking care of business in conference. And it's not it's so doable year to year, and I think that's super exciting for BC fans.
Mm-hmm.
You guys ever see those weird NFL graphics where they show, oh, if you flipped every one possession game, these would be the team's records?
Yeah.
That's what I'm thinking of. Like I think I saw it. I think the Chiefs, instead of 9-0, they'd be like 3-6 or something.
Yeah.
Like, it's no, it's crazy to think about. But on our end, we also have Michigan State, Western Kentucky, close wins, could have been losses. So it goes both ways for us. But it's just hard not to think about UVA and Louisville specifically.
Yeah,
I know those ones really sting, especially because with the UVA they would have been 5-1. So it's like, would that downfall, of going to 4-4
changes everything though?
Because they 5-1, then maybe they still lose the one in Virginia Tech, which now we're seeing Virginia Tech's not really that great either. But let's just, even still, like for sake of purposes, they lose that game. That Louisville game, suddenly it's like 5-2. They go 6-2. It sucks. It sucks. It's just such
so BC though. It's quite
a kick.
It's that it's when we had Adazio, right? It was the 6-6 like hellscape, right? Every year, 6-6, 6-6,
yes.
6-6.
Yes,
we're still there.
6.
We're it's ingrained into our hearts and souls now, but it's like until you make some dramatic move, and I think again, this offseason I think will be a big telling to what goes on in the next year or two. But yeah, we're 6-6 still. We're still BC, and we've been this for the last, I don't know, until the early 2000s.
It's funny too, because it's like the UVA game and the Louisville game, not to keep harping on them, but like those games are kind of like the differences between like a 9-win team and like a 6-win, 6-6. And it's like they just haven't figured out how to win those games yet.
Think about the next 3 games too. Are we going to be 5-7, 6-6, 7-6? There's even a chance you could go 7-5 and potentially get an 8th win in a bowl game. That's still on the table. So it's like there's a massive difference going into the offseason based on the next 2 games at home. So like, man, is this going to be like a real failure? You lose both games, or this is going to be, hey, chance to get an 8th win, Bill O'Brien's first year? Like there's that much room there. Obviously, we think, okay, just get to 6-6. You got to do that. But look what you can do in a couple of games. It swings your entire season. Your business.
I got a question. Does a 7th win get you out of the Fenway Bowl?
Like I think it might get you to the Fenway Bowl.
I think you go to a Southern Bowl. If you get 7 wins, you go to a Southern Bowl.
Like 6-6, you're definitely in the Fenway Bowl. But like 7-5, are you still in the Fenway Bowl, or do you get out of it?
I think if you don't get to 7 wins, you're definitely going to either Boston or you're going to New York and the Bronx.
Oh, if we have to play in the
Military Bowl,
the Pinstripe Bowl again, I'll
Pinstripe Bowl. Yeah,
the Military Bowl was cool.
Annapolis would be better, way better. But I think if you only get 6 wins, you're probably in Pinstripe or Fenway, to be honest.
Yeah. You're playing on if you win 6 games, you're playing on a baseball field.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's a baseball record. Yeah.
All right, who we got this week?
Tar Heels.
Tough to predict this one.
Oh, do we do our ad break real quick?
Let's do it.
Did you guys do the ad break last week, or I forgot?
No, we totally.
I think we blew right through it.
Yeah, I was about to say, cause whatever. Ad break brought to you by Bigelow Tea. We're back. That was 44 on the dot. UNC this week. Tar Heels.
Tar Heels
football. Tar Heels favored by 3.5, Jack, huh?
Yeah, on our turf. So it doesn't bode well for us.
No.
Like we were talking about earlier, they won 3 straight. I mean, it's UVA, Florida State, Wake, none of whom are particularly good or impressive, but 3 wins is 3 wins. So
Yeah.
If you're gonna get one of these next two, it's got to be this one, in my opinion. Like, you don't want to be relying on a win against a good Pitt team to get to 6-6. UNC is not going to be easy. They have they have a really good running back, Omari and Hampton. I think he had
Mhm.
240 yards on the ground
Wow.
against Wake. So he's gonna be he's their guy. So it's gonna be
I'm
tough, but we'll see.
I'm looking at that 3.5 points, and I'm saying, okay, so basically Vegas is saying like we're a touchdown underdog at home, but because we're at
Mhm.
home, it's a 4-point spread. I think that's about right because you look at UNC's offense; they've been more solid offense than
Yeah.
BC. But I'm looking at UNC's defense, and I'm saying,
Mhm.
man, if BC can put things kind of even more consistently than they did against SMU, this is going to be a fight. This is going to be a total
Yeah.
shootout. I mean, the fact that you look at James Madison University put up 70 points on UNC.
Dude,
Yeah, they
JMU's
did.
good.
70
JMU's a good
points,
football team,
though. I
but
know they're good, but
70
like
points is ridiculous.
if your
Yeah.
defense is giving up 70 points, like, oh, I'm sorry, we got to win this game at home. And I think I fully agree with you, Jack. Like, this is a must win at home to get to 6 wins. This is your 6th win. You got to take care of business. I think it's going to be a shootout. You hope that Tim Lewis is going to able to, disrupt that offense a little bit. And I think you've seen with some of the games that I've watched with UNC, if you get, pressure on the quarterback, again, Donovan going to have to ball out at home, disrupt that a little bit. You're going to have chances to go up. And, hopefully this isn't a back and forth game, and hopefully BC can find a way to pull away at home. But I think it's going to be a high scoring effect game. Again, my biggest call out of this game, and you put this in the notes, Jack, is running back Omarion Hampton. I mean, this guy is like, how do you stop him? That's, I think, probably the biggest factor of the game. How are you going to
It's
stop
nuts.
this guy? I don't even know if you do stop him, but do you make them one dimensional? I don't even know what there's going to be a massive task with that defensive line and the linebackers for holding this kid, hopefully under 150 or something like that. But again, like you put Andre 2K numbers from this kid on UNC. How do we stop that guy? That's going to be the number one, priority, I think, this week in preparation.
Especially if Cam Arnold's still out, then we're looking at a linebacker core of Bryce Steele and Bam Crouch.
Injuries. Injuries are a thing right now. We have a lot of people out.
Totally.
Max Tucker
Yes.
went out last game. I mean, of course, you have Amari Jackson that's gone. You have, a bunch of depth issues. And I again, the secondary, I think they, did everything they could. They really fought against SMU in that game. And I think there are a lot of upcoming athletes there, but the depth is a problem. And so if you're going to be in a shootout against UNC, the next guy up, there's only so many guys that can step up. So that's a big question there too. So there's a bunch of questions here for this game defensively.
The main reason I don't feel terrible about this game, the main reason I feel okay about this game is because I think we saw how they looked after a week of Grayson James running the ones at practice. I think they looked pretty good on offense. I think if they replicate that performance, I think they score, up like 35 plus. They scored 28 against a SMU defense who's, pretty good, especially against the run. But UNC hasn't exactly, they're not exactly a super proven defense. So I think this defense, if they're as banged up as they were this week, I don't think it's going to be tough to hold them under 30 points. So you're going to have to beat them in a shootout. But I think they're, based on how they looked in last game, I think they're kind of equipped for that. I mean, obviously, we'll see what they look like at game time. But so that's like the main reason I don't feel terrible. I have enough trust in the offense after seeing how they looked with 1 week of work for Grayson James So I think I don't. So like I said, I don't feel super terrible about this going into this one.
Mm-hmm. Bro, what are you thinking, buddy? Tough one, huh?
I feel a lot better. I feel a lot better about the direction of the team overall after last week. I think, they lost 3 in a row, right? Yeah. So the three in a row was pretty bad. The Syracuse win, good win, but wasn't sure if that was just a little bit of a fluke or flash in the pan or whatever. So I didn't feel super great after that win. To be honest with you, I feel better about the direction of the team and their ability after the loss, against SMU than I did against the win against Syracuse, as weird as that is.
Totally.
Mm-hmm.
I do feel like this is the Billy O ball that we all, were sold. And
Mhm.
early on in the season, we saw a lot of this and, it got away from that. And I think, we weren't sure if it was that early season success, again, was just like a flash in the pan. But they coached their asses off last week, really, hit a home run scheme wise. I think they did a perfect job of using, Grayson the way they did. And, I think that was by far Will Logg's best game all season. Tim Lewis, continues, I don't know how he's doing it too. I was thinking about the fact that how nice it would have been with Amari Jackson back there. But yeah, I mean, I definitely feel a lot better. I don't, I can't say for certain that they're going to win this game, either of them. They might win both of them. I don't know. What I can say is that pretty confidently that you are going to watch a good competitive game. Like, I don't think that they're going to get blown out or, lose badly or get, outplayed. I think it's, they're going to play very competitive, which is all you can really ask for at this point. I mean, you got your backup quarterback, your starting quarterback's out the door. There's 2 games left in the season. You have a chance to be bowl eligible. UNC, which we thought was the layup. It's not the layup. It's more like a mid-range now. We'll see. I can't call it, but I definitely do feel a lot better going into this week than I have, in probably over a month.
It's interesting you say that, Brett, because I kind of felt the same way after the Cuse win. You're kind of like, man, they got to figure out quarterback. There's a lot of uncertainty there, and then so you weren't feeling that great about it. You weren't feeling confident, and then after this game, you're like, well, there's a clear direction. Honestly, there's not even a choice anymore, which kind of helped solve that. But the fact that you were able to compete against, obviously, a top tier opponent was huge. And again, I'd like to call out to Tim Lewis because we've been kind of claiming this. I mean, I've really appreciated Tim Lewis like the entire season. I think there's been a lack of talent there throughout, not even before the injuries. And the fact that he's gotten them to play at a certain level, but also his scheme of like, hey, we don't want to necessarily be bend don't break, but with what we have and the personnel and, this is the scheme, the philosophy we have to have this year to be able to compete and to be able to try and keep touchdowns off the board. And honestly, maybe to question him is like, he's been doing this. He's been keeping this defense as consistent and keeping them in the games as much as they can throughout the season. And I've been impressed with that. And I think this is another one of those games where he does enough with this limited team and beat up secondary to pull off, at least to put them in a position to possibly win. And so I think that's how I'm looking at as far as the defensive point of view. And again, the questions still remain on offense. Are you going to be able to make improvement in this week leading up to this game with Grayson? And honestly, you feel a little bit more confident after seeing the SMU game because clearly Bill O'Brien and Will Long and the quarterbacks coach, who's been doing a great job, I think, throughout the season and making this big adjustment, got him prepared enough to be able to pull off that win. So as long as that keeps, happening, you're feeling pretty confident going into this UNC game. And I agree with you guys both. I think there's more than not, they should pull off this win. It would be a disappointment to not pull off this win. I think this is not only a must win, but I expect them to win this game on Saturday.
I don't know that I'm not there yet to expect them to win. I'm nervous about their offense. I mean, UNC's offense. I'm nervous about that.
Yeah,
should be.
my thinking there is just
Yeah.
if we can just keep them off the field. I mean, I just looked it up. UNC ranks just about where we do in terms of rush defense. So if we can kind of just control the clock there, move chains, which I think we should be able to. I mean, we ran the ball for 300 yards against Syracuse, who is not that far below UNC in terms of rush defense. I think the key, if we can keep control time of possession, keep the ball out of their offense's hands. If we can do that successfully, then I feel relatively good about our chances.
Sure.
But I think I don't know if I'm where Mac is expecting a must win or expecting a win, but I think they should be. I think they should be in the game in the fourth quarter, and it'd be pretty disappointing if they weren't.
Yeah, I think that's a good point, Jack. As far as keeping them off the field, it's like keep it simple, stupid, right? The run works. The running game works.
You run the damn ball, and good things happen.
Run the damn ball, get the W. That's what I'm interested in, though. Is this going to be more of a low scoring? Like if BC is able to control the time of possession, is this going to be more low scoring than people think? Because there's a way for that to be the case, and then there's a way for if BC gets down, they might have to throw the ball, and this becomes a shootout. Also, that becomes less likely of a win if that's the case. So it's almost like you want them to take the ball in the first half, go down and have a long drive, and try and be able to maintain that lead to be able to control the type of way you want the game to be. That's definitely a key to victory, I would say. And then as far as me expecting them to win, I really do. This comes from, I think that's expectation for this program and where it needs to go with Bill O'Brien. I think if they want to have the offseason that they need to have to get this program to where they need to be, they got to win this game, period. So that's where my expectation comes from. I could be completely wrong, and I hope I'm not, but that's kind of where that comes from. It's a must win more than it is an expected win. They just got to pull it off.
Totally. Should we do predictions for the game?
I'll go last.
All right, Mac, you want to go?
Yeah, because I'm kind of preaching this, I guess, already. You guys kind of know where I'm going with this. It was good that you brought up, though, that the control of possession of time, Jack, and keeping UNC off the field. I think that's going to be another key to BC pulling off this victory. It's going to be, again, I think it can go two different ways. So the score prediction is going to be tough, but I do think Eagles pull off the victory. It's going to be a close game. I'm thinking more down the line of like 35, 34. This is going to be like a total pick'em game. And I think it could be, maybe it's more like 28-27, or maybe it's like 42-41. So I'm kind of picking in the middle here. I think it's going to be my final score prediction, 34-33. BC pulls off the win. Whether it's a shootout or not, but I think they're going to be competing this entire game. I think a big part of this dictating this game is going to be who comes out and punches and hits the other person in the mouth first. So I think it's a little more low scoring if the Eagles do that first. It could be more of a shootout, but I think either way, BC's in a position where they could compete and pull off this win.
Sure. I brought up the point about the controlling the clock thing because I think that's kind of what they're going to have to do if they want to. Their offense is going to be more important than, or if not just as important, if not more than their defense in terms of limiting the UNC offense, if that makes sense, just keeping them off the field. But I do believe in their ability to do that. I think, we saw it against Syracuse. They ran the ball. And then we saw against SMU that, Grayson James has the chops to make the throws he needs to. So I do feel pretty good about both those aspects. I think I don't think we're going to see Grayson James throw the ball as much as he did against SMU. I expect him to commit more to the run, but I still expect a pretty close game. Like I said earlier, come down to it in the fourth quarter. So I think my prediction is going to be BC 31, UNC 28. I think BC. I feel good about this game. Better than most of the other. Better than the other games. So I feel 31-28.
We got close games, Jack.
Yeah.
Yeah.
BC 40-35.
40-35. So clean sweep from the Crew. I like that.
Yeah, because BC is going to miss an extra point, and then they're going to miss a two-point conversion.
I love that. Yeah.
Because I think like, and Bill O'Brien talked about it in the press conference, how he was like basically saying how they probably would have needed to score going to the game, that they would have needed to score 40 to beat SMU. I think this is another instance of that where they're going to need to put up a lot of points. I see where you guys are going. Controlling the clock and keeping them off the field. I have a lot of faith in UNC's offense, especially their rushing attack. That's a high powered rushing attack. They lost the game 70-50. They scored 50 points.
They scored 50 points and they lost by 20. It's crazy.
Yeah, like that.
That's insane.
Wow. So yeah, I'll join you guys on the winning side. For fun. Just for fun and see if they could check it out. But that's kind of like my rationale behind it.
I like that.
Yeah, I agree with you. I actually agree with you guys both. Like, I honestly think it's 50-50 as far as like it could be a shootout like SMU where you got to score 40, or if BC is able to do what they want, it's going to be more closer to like what me and Jack predicted. But
yeah, the grind it out,
there where it could go either way. But at least that's definitely an improvement there. The fact that I can foresee them winning in a couple different ways, I think that's a little bit of an improvement. When I think before SMU game, I was like, there's no way you can compete in a shootout. And I think even if it comes down to that, with UNC's limited defense, I think there's still a chance to pull that off. So be a fun game, I think, for sure. Another fun game. Again, that SMU game, as far as college football goes, that was a great game. Like, that was a fantastic game to watch. Heartbreaking.
The casual ESPN watchers probably they probably love that game.
Yeah.
But
I think it's gonna happen.
I hope the UNC defense doesn't find this podcast and uses bulletin board material, because we're really throwing them under the bus here. But yeah, I stand by it. So
Listen, I'm sure there's a UNC podcast that's throwing our guys under the bus.
No,
too, so
totally.
So we're just doing our part,
Yeah,
we're sticking up for our guys.
Exactly.
Hoops. Do we talk hoops?
Gotta win.
They pulled it off.
Got it.
The lone win of the weekend between
a good W.
hockey, football. Hoops.
2-1. 2-1 against Philly
great
team.
W.
Against the Philly team. They pulled it off.
Yeah. Temple's not they're not a great team by any means, but they're a real Division I.
Did you ever go to their games? Did you ever go to their games? Yeah.
When I was younger, yeah.
Yeah. I feel like that'd be like a fun. Yeah, I feel like that'd be like a fun.
Yeah, solid program. Solid program. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's
that coach they used to have in the A10.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What was his name? He was like a crazy Dick Cheney, or not Dick Cheney.
No, not Dick Cheney.
Not Dick Cheney.
No,
what was his name?
Cheney.
He was like crazy.
Let me Google it.
Yeah.
Temple. I know you. Yeah.
I know. Back in the day, though, I remember those games. So
I'm gonna kick myself for not.
He had like a rivalry with John Calipari. They had like a heated rivalry back in the day. He was like a fucking psychopath. He was great. John Cheney. John Cheney. Yeah.
I was thinking of Fran Dunphy, because I knew Fran Dunphy. I didn't really know John Cheney as much, but
John Cheney's a good coach.
He made 17 NCAA tournament appearances.
Yeah.
So he's pretty good.
It was like really good.
Yeah. I don't know if I don't think he ever went too far, but
yeah.
Miles Skinner, though, he was very consistent. Like,
yeah, he'd get you there.
Yep.
Yeah, but I don't think this Temple team is as good as
no
those ones.
No,
I don't think they're gonna be a tournament team, really.
No.
But it was a good win. I mean, they had a guy averaging 20, Jamal Mashburn Jr., who averaged 20, 23, 24 a game.
And he looked, like a guy averaging 23 a game.
Yeah, but they let him do his. He went like 8 for 19. He didn't shoot particularly efficiently, but he got his. But I mean, they were able to, they had a great run in the first half.
The beginning of that game was wild.
I know. After watching them drop 20 points against VCU in the first half, they scored 46. And crazy.
They were shooting like 70-something% in the first half.
At one point, I looked at the live stats. They're shooting 74% from the field.
Yeah,
which,
that's what it was.
If you believe in regression to the mean, like I do, it's going to taper off, and it did. But they weathered that storm, and they down the stretch they made it plays they needed to. I mean, Elijah Strong, 25 and 13.
Yes.
Like how about Eli? He drew a big charge at the end to kind of seal that game.
It was a sound 25 and 13 too. Like,
yeah,
it was like a very.
It wasn't fluky.
Efficient.
Like he
was very efficient.
He had 15 first half points, and it seemed kind of. At one point, he started 5 for 5 from the field. He was feeling it, but he carried that into the second half. He had a clutch and one at the end. It was a good grinded out win. Chaz Kelly finally showed up.
Scored points.
He scored points. He fished out assists too. He had 9 points, 8 assists, and he
sure did.
He played pretty good defense. I mean,
Mashburn
Jr. He got his, but I mean, I think Chaz did his part on both ends.
And he's running around.
Yeah, he's running around. And then Donald Hand, 17 points, slightly more efficient than he had been. He went 5 for 12, which is about what you would expect from him. But before this game, he was shooting like 30% from the field. So
yeah,
good to see that. So those three look great, I thought. And then you had some solid play from Benning and Hastings. They're kind of tag team in the center position.
Roger McFarland does things.
I love Roger McFarland. I'm glad you brought him up.
I love him too.
He had a double against VCU off the bench. He's kind of like our lone guy.
Yeah.
He only went 2 for 6 in this game, but
that's okay.
He plays good defense. He rebounds the fucking ball, which I love. I love that from him. Yeah. When they go 4 guards with him, Deion Brown, Chaz, and DJ, I think I do like that lineup because you have 2 guards that can really rebound.
Yep.
Deion Brown though, I think he is scoreless on 1 shot attempts. Which is kind of disappointing considering he averaged 20 a game in conference last year. I don't know if it's an injury thing. He's not even involved in the offense really. Like they're not even looking to get him shots. I don't know what it is, but
very I noticed in person too. Very passive.
With the corner.
Ball. Yeah, and when he's off ball, he's very just like he's just standing there. Like he's not.
Yeah,
really looking to get the ball. I
remember against the Citadel, he didn't play super well then either.
No.
When we asked Earl about it, he said, he's been injured. He hadn't been practicing, so he wasn't super, I guess, involved in practice. So he wasn't going to be super involved in the games. But fast forward a week and a half later, he's still playing off ball, not super active. I thought he did some good things on defense. He had a couple deflections. Didn't play great on ball defense all the time, but I mean, I still believe in him as a guy that we'll be able to rely on later, but I just don't know what's up with him right now. I don't know. Brett, did you go to the press conference after last game?
No, because I wanted to go watch the
fight. The fight.
We were texting about that.
Yeah. But I am curious to see I'm curious to know if anyone asked him about Deion Brown. I'm sure someone did.
I think someone did. Yeah.
But they play again tomorrow. They play it tomorrow night, so it'd be interesting to see if he gets more and more integrated into the offense there. But
it seemed to me that the rebounding. What thing was so frustrating in like the first couple of games was the rebounding, and it seemed like
totally
they got way more solid on that. And I was super impressed with. He's still raw and he's so young, but like Hastings is such an athlete. I don't know. He reminds me.
Did you watch it live? Did you see the block he had?
Yeah, the blocking and
his head's at the rim. Like he's
right. He just seems
not
like
the kind of athlete that.
Like, if he like is able to hone that, man, he could be such a huge dynamic piece of this, the defense too, that you're just saying with that block.
Yeah.
But Brett, you said you were at the game. When I was watching it on TV, it seemed like Eli Strong, like obviously had an incredible game, but it seemed like a lot, especially with the and one and a lot of like the plays and like with the fans, he was interacting a lot with the fans. I just was like seeing if you were like picked up on like he clearly is a fan favorite, and he's definitely like, especially in the home game or that game specifically, he was really getting them to interact or like calm down when you needed it or like get amped up. Just any thoughts on that? And like that was cool to see. And how was the fans there? Like, was it Conte Morgue, or how much of the fans were kind of into this one?
There was way more fans than I would have expected for a Friday night 7 o'clock tip.
Yeah,
I mean, but and to be said, there was a lot more fans against the Citadel than I expected as well. I would say that there's been a steady stream of people in the red seats that I haven't really I guess noticed in the past, or it was a little bit more underwhelming previous years. But yeah, I mean he's just a guy who that's that's like who he is as a person. He's just like very very emotional type of guy, very, fired up. And I think he really feeds off that. And yeah, you're right. I mean, there was a couple times where he went over to like kids, on the sideline and like high fived them up and stuff like that. But in terms of like the crowd overall, especially like as the game kind of, came down to, those last couple possessions, as it under 4 minutes, there was a roar.
There was a buzz.
There was definitely a buzz.
That Conti buzz.
Yeah, and even before that, there definitely wasn't the morgue. It definitely wasn't. You weren't able to just hear people, on the court yelling, or coaches yelling, from the stands like you usually can, in situations like that. There was definitely a buzz, and there was definitely the large roar that came, as the game started to get down to crunch time, which it's always nice, especially in matchups like this where these are the fun games. These are the ones you really kind of want to get up and hone in for, because these are the
winnable ones.
These are the winnable ones. This is the success.
These are the ones you got to have.
And it kind of sets you up. You saw 2 years ago when they went 10-10 in conference, but they went 6-5 out of conference. You win a couple of those Maine and UNH games, and next thing you know, they would have
been at least in the NIT, but they
would have been an NIT team. Yeah,
they finished under 500. So
correct. Yeah, so it's like these are the one. These out of conference games, you got to have them. You want to go 8-3, 9-2. Especially with this schedule, I would say it's not a cupcake schedule by any means. I would say it's a pretty standard out of conference schedule. No true away games, which is just that's a nice little bonus. Gotta have them, and this is kind of where you start to track a team's growth, and who's going to be your contributors, in conference once you get to ACC play, like who are going to be your guys. There's a lot of questions, still to be answered. I think a guy like Donald Hand, Jack, you kind of alluded to it. He's putting up a lot of points, but it's not at an efficient clip as you would like, so, is it going to be more of a, Claudel Harris situation, or maybe like a Mackay situation where you are getting a lot of points, but it's coming at a lot of shots and a lot of possessions. We'll see. And I was talking about the Dion Brown situation as well, and it's like we might have, and I don't know yet, but we might have really hyped him up and made him something that he wasn't coming into this. Like, I think a lot of us looked at him and said that he is going to be a better Claudel. You know, I think a lot of us thought that he was going to be that high volume scorer. You know, coming from a smaller school, and he put up a lot of points for them in a, you know, lesser competition, and it was going to translate here right away. And it hasn't. A lot of us are kind of like, you know, what the hell, you know. But I think a lot of us kind of manufactured these expectations, and, you know, maybe it was a lot of it was unfounded. You know, we kind of just got to let him get his feet underneath him, and, you know, we'll see. You know, I to be honest, I still believe that he can be what we want and need him to be. I think it just might take a little bit more time than it's not a plug and play, you know, and that's okay.
No, yeah. I mean, I don't want to say yet that we've overhyped him, because I mean, at the end of the day, we played the Citadel, VCU, and Temple, who's, you know, it's not it's not an ACC schedule, but it's, you know, it's like around the sort of competition that he might have played. So I don't, and, you know, this guy, he, you know, 20 points at the D1 level is it's good anywhere. And he, you know, he was in the he declared for the NBA draft last year. So I mean, I still believe that that's there in him. I think he can still be a big piece for us. But you know, you just want to see him more involved, see how, you know, Earl uses him. But yeah, kind of looking ahead at the schedule, I have it in front of me. They got an opportunity to kind of go on a little bit of a run here. They got Loyola Maryland tomorrow, who they're, I think, 13 favorite points over, and then they have their MTE, their tournament, where they'll have like Old Dominion. I don't know how it lines up, but they got Old Dominion, like Hampton. I know Boise State's in there, so I mean, they got opportunity to, you know, make some noise, maybe make the championship game, get a little bit of hardware, and then you come home, and then you got Dartmouth. So I mean, I think, I tweeted out, I predicted that, you know, if they should probably go 4-1, I think, in over the next 5, which would be set them up pretty good going to the South Carolina game, or that'll be a real test. But also, I mean, I don't think South Carolina is particularly good, so I think it should be a fun atmosphere.
5-1 going into that game would be fun.
Yeah, or 5-2.
That's at home too, right?
Yeah, it's at home. Yeah, so I think hopefully people get up for that, and then you have Wake after that, who, you know, they were good last few years, but I looked at them briefly. I don't think they're as good this year. So I don't know. It's hard to say how winnable those games will be. I mean, we've only seen 3 games of action from these guys, but yeah, I think, you know, this out of conference slate is fun for a new group, because it's like, it's games you should win, but also it's a showcase for a lot of these guys. So yeah, so I think, you know, we'll be there. Brett, will you be there tomorrow night?
Tomorrow's Tuesday.
Yeah,
I should be there. Yeah.
So we'll be in the building. We'll see how they look in Game 4.
Is there a line on Loyola Maryland, guys?
I don't know.
Who?
Is there a line on Loyola?
Yeah, I saw 13.5.
Okay.
BC's favored.
Okay.
I mean, we'll see how that goes. I don't think we'll win by 15 points, but
yeah.
But yeah, I mean, this is the fun part of the schedule. It's like where you learn who the guys are. So I think, so, you know, we'll keep an eye on these guys and see how they progress going forward.
That was a fun game last game. I mean, I think texted you guys. I was like, man, I'm like really into this game. They really pulled me back in. I was like sweating. I was like, oh man, like it was like possession of possession.
It's a fun game.
It was a fun.
It was a fun game. And that's, you know, I think, you know, if you can do that against a team like Temple, maybe South Carolina, Wake, SMU, those lower tier power conference teams, maybe give you some hope against those guys. And I don't know. There's been a lot of early mixed results from the ACC, so we'll see who we're going to align with. But yeah, I feel about as I thought I was going to be 3 games in.
Yeah.
I never really thought we were going to beat VCU.
Yeah, me neither.
But yeah, I mean, these next 5-6 games should be fun to tune into.
It'll be good to kind of track and see, especially like a lot of the under guys, if they can, you know, get in and play some meaningful minutes in games like this, and you know, we'll kind kind of just go from there. But yeah, we'll see.
Yeah.
Fowler punched the guy this weekend, by the way.
Fowler socked a guy
I saw
against UConn, and then our backup goalie, he let in about 3 goals in about 5 minutes. So
was Fowler suspended at all?
Yeah.
I think he's suspended for the Providence game.
For a game, yeah. Yeah.
Which
Someone else is out too.
Really?
But Fowler.
It's a big loss. Providence is they're better than UConn.
Yeah.
So I mean, if we lost to UConn, I'm a little bit worried for Providence because
I didn't catch that game, but that it seemed that was just horrible. Just one of the worst game of the season, obviously, so far.
No, yeah,
it was during the Temple game.
Yeah, my roommate was following along, but I was kind of zeroed in on Temple. But yeah, I mean, it's their second loss of the season, and they only dropped one spot. They were the third in the polls. I think Michigan State jumped them. But I think if they can survive Providence, I think they'll be right back on track. Honestly, I think this will just be. Hopefully, this is just a blip. I mean, if they drop on the Providence too, then I think you might start having some issues.
Yeah, just a fluke blip.
But yeah, I mean, I was saying this to Mac, Brett, on the Jack Mac show last week. We gotta get our hockey guy on, Anthony. We gotta get him on here. Get his takes.
Little crossover.
Shout out Anthony. Tune into Connie Cast, and we'll bring Connie Cast on here.
Yeah, we gotta do a little collab action.
Yeah, we gotta get Connie Cast.
No, because I was saying this to Mac. I mean, the hockey team, they're our best team on campus right now. So I mean, they.
Oh yeah.
They deserve more than the 5-10 minutes we're giving them. So
I was saying before the UConn game, I was saying like honestly, it's like one of the funnest watches in college sports, to be honest.
Yeah.
And I think
especially in person. Yeah.
Ryan Leonard's a fucking electric factory, dude.
Yeah. Absolutely.
He's so good.
Mm-hmm.
And
Perot's great. Hagen's is
Hagen's
yeah.
Hagen's is like
stacked. The team's totally stacked, man.
Hagen's. I was watching a reel of his stick handling. He's like he like does. I guess he don't even like look down at the puck ever. He's just out there stick handling, dangling people.
Yeah, I do wonder. I was watching a bit of an aside. I was watching the Flyers game. They were playing the San Jose Sharks, who have Will Smith and Macklin Celebrini.
Yep.
And the game goes to a shootout. And the way the shootout works, it starts best of 3, then it goes from there. So the first 2 guys for San Jose, it was Celebrini, then Will Smith, and they both miss. So I was thinking, like, I wonder if Will Smith is kind of missing his boys on the at BC.
I feel like he's have fun. I feel like he's got to be right.
I mean, you're on a shitty San Jose team. I think.
I remember when they showed when like he did his little video of like signing with the Sharks. It looked like he was like held captive and like forced to sign that contract.
Yeah, some guy behind the camera. Yeah. But
they added too many zeros to that paycheck. That's what it was at the end of the day.
No, you can't blame the kid for turning down.
No, absolutely
the money that he turned down.
No, absolutely not.
No, but yeah. So I mean, I gotta keep tabs on this hockey team too, because once football's over, I don't want to be spending an hour on basketball every week. I want to give hockey their fair share. So I gotta keep tabs on these guys.
Yeah, believe in BC Hoops is dead and gone, dude. We can't do that again.
Hey, it was a rebrand.
Yeah,
it was a pivot. We pivoted.
We upgraded.
Yeah,
well,
totally.
Probably it's going to turn into like recruiting, transfer portal, and following this hockey team, because this hockey team's definitely going. Like, I mean, it's obviously they have Final Four potential, and then it's just going to get exciting after that. So
so keep tabs on hoops, keep tabs on hockey, and then off season is right around the corner for football. So
huge games, man. Well, 2 more home games again, like we said. The difference between 5 and 7 and potentially going to a bowl game for your 8th win, that's all possible, and everything in the middle. So we'll see. Big game this Saturday. Big one.
PBD. We'll see. Yeah.
Big one. Any other final thoughts?
Just control the clock against UNC. Pat Conti for Loyola Maryland tomorrow, and
Mm.
just gotta survive Providence for Puck. So
Amen.
Yeah, fans show up, baby, because like you were just saying, Jack, Conte's got some great things going on, and then this Saturday, the noon game. This time of the year, noon games are the best. It's the only time a whole game's in the sun the entire time. So hopefully we have some good weather.
True, good point.
So
Yeah,
fill the stands. We sold out last game. There's no reason to not sell out this game. We're the only show in town that Saturday. So show up, have a great tailgate, enjoy, and then let's try to get bowl eligible this Saturday, boys.
let's do it.
Amen. That's all I got too. Episode 4 is episode 14.
14.
Yep.
Emmett
Yes.
Moorhead episode. Oh no, this is the Grayson James episode.
Yeah, have some respect, man. Come on.
Yeah, no, that's fucked up. Grayson James episode in the books. That's all I got. Make sure you follow us on Instagram, Twitter, YouTube at Eagles Daily BC or Eagles Weekly BC, whichever you choose. But yeah, make sure you follow us on any of those. Share, like, subscribe, all that good stuff. And with that, go Eagles.
Go Eagles.